Hello, my name is Dmitry Aganezov and I am a community manager of Intel Cloud Services platform. Today we have a special guest, Ned Hayes, and Ned is going to talk about recommendation, curation, and catalog services. Welcome, Ned.
Thanks, Dmitry.
Well, could you please give us an overview? What's the talking about? What's the key idea about those services?
Sure. Well, the Intel Cloud Services platform provides capabilities for developers to customize and deploy all sorts of applications, mobile applications, online services, and recommendations, catalog, and curation are really focused on personalization of experiences so that developers can really provide exactly the content that they want their users to see.
Great. Ned, could you please give us an example how it looks like from an end user point of view?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, when you go online today, you often look at different news articles, and of course, I myself shop for a lot of gadgets. So I might buy a tablet, I might buy a phone, a case for my iPad, all sorts of different things. And when I go online, I want to see things that match what I'm actually looking for. Gadgets I might be interested in, and then it would recommend items that are pertinent to other items that I've looked at. So when we provide a curation system, a recommendation system, and a catalog service, we're providing facilities to power all sorts of websites and online services and mobile services. So that could be a mobile application, it could be a news website, it could be an online store.
Great, and let us talk about developers. Let us do that step by step.
Sure.
How developers can use, for example, catalog service?
Well, so the developer would use all three of these services in sync with each other. So a developer would first have their list of items that they want to reference. So for example, if I'm a gadget store, I have a whole list of gadgets, phones, tablets, all these things that I want to reference. And if I want to keep that list up to date, right now I have to maintain it separately from another gadget store or maybe a review site like CNET. So if we have a central place that people can reference, I can decide to upload my whole list of all gadgets in one place, and then my partners can reference that, or news organizations can reference that. So I upload into Catalog, and then I can see what my users are doing through the recommendation system that's tracking a taste profile based on what users have clicked on and what they're interested in, and then feeding them other items that match that taste profile. Also, with the curation system, I can make lists of items that might seem pertinent to these users, and my users can also make lists of their top preferred items. So maybe they might make a list of the top smartphones for 2012, or my favorite tablets. So those kinds of lists can continue over time and can be created by me or can be created by my end users.
So as a developer, I just need to create one single catalog and share it with stakeholders like stores or review sites, and they will have exactly the same information based on my references from the catalog?
Well, ideally, what they would see when they pull a list of items, they would just receive the most recent items in the system instead of having separate items listed in different websites or different mobile applications. When I instantiate a mobile application, it would just pop up with the most current list. So if an item has changed description, that description would just be populated into my mobile application.
Great. And what about recommendation service? As a developer, how I can use it?
A lot of websites and mobile applications today are recommending information or recommending content to buy or to view. And we see a gap in the market that a lot of developers are creating their own recommendation systems that aren't competitive, and we want to provide a world-class recommendation system that any developer can take advantage of. Basically, we're open sourcing recommendation so that any developer can use something that competes effectively with leading retailers. And so we're initially offering two kinds of recommendations, and we plan to build on those over time. But the two out of the gate are personal recommendation, which is also known as a collaborative filtering system. We're also offering an anonymous recommendation, which is kind of a content-based recommendation. So one is based more on what your activity is, and the other is based more on what the content is like. So for example, if you look at purple cases for smartphones, we'd probably recommend more purple cases. Or if you happen to be a 45-year-old guy, we'll recommend stuff that other 45-year-old guys are also interested in. So those are two types of recommendations out of the gate. And as I said, this is just the beginning. We're going to add more filters and more capabilities in recommendation over time.
Great. I think I understand the idea of recommendation service. Let us talk a little bit about curation. What's the idea?
Well, the creation of lists has become incredibly important for all sorts of human-created content. Today, we can see it online with Facebook and Pinterest and Flipboard. Almost every site has a way of taking your favorite articles or your favorite items and putting them into a list. And so keeping these lists over time, preserving them, becomes incredibly important. If I've created a list of my top 2,000 books, I don't want that list to go away. I've put a lot of effort into it. And that's true whether you're a developer or whether you're an end user, that you want to preserve the list that you've created and actually have those lists travel with you.
That's great. I understand the user perspective, but let us discuss developer's perspective. What are the features which could be useful for portals or applications?
If a developer, for example, of a retail site, has items that they want to promote, one of the best ways to promote them is through a list. So they could say, these are the top gadgets of 2013, these are the top books published this week, this is the articles that are highest ranking on my site. So a developer can actually promote content through a list, and they can tag content with different types of information, and they can also define what items are allowed to go into a list. There's one more thing, Dimitri. You can also annotate a list, and so you can add annotations that explain how important this list might be to your end users. And in fact, your users can do this as well. They can create annotations on a list telling you more about the content in your system.
Great. And now the most important and obvious question, how could developers set up and use this system?
Well, first of all, a developer would subscribe to the identity service, which creates a three-legged token that secures the user data, because as you know, user privacy is very important to us. Secondly, a developer would subscribe to the recommendation, curation, and catalog service, and then would upload all items that they want to reference into the catalog system. And then the third step, of course, would be to specify which items they want recommendations against, or you can allow the system just to automatically generate recommendations based on all of your items.
Great. In other words, the service is flexible enough and you can tune up to specify what particular items do you want to process and what recommendations do you want to collect.
Correct. And as I said earlier, you can choose which style of recommendation. So you can do an anonymous recommendation that's based more on content, or you can do a recommendation that's much more personal, that's filtering on the individual taste profile.
Great. It sounds like a useful set of tools for developers who are building applications based on cloud services. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. We think these are the building blocks for ongoing personalization of services and applications. So today, a developer is constantly reinventing recommendations and top 10 lists, for example. We're trying to take some of that pain away and make it simpler to deploy modern personalized applications.
Great, because I believe nobody wants to reinvent the wheel, right?
Right.
Great. Thank you very much. It was interesting.
Sure. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. To learn more about Intel Cloud Services, please visit Intel Developer Zone website. Look at the URL software.intel.com. And let's be in touch.